Okay, so I have a big giant wedding update, throwing it at you guys right now. Just gonna dive right into it. So as of about last week, we have found out that the place we originally were hoping to have our wedding, we are no longer using it. I'm not going to really discuss the reasoning why, because it's not anyone's business, and I just want it to be known that I am okay. It's completely and totally fine. Technically speaking, we still could have used this place, but there was a lot more risk using it, in the sense of possibly having to cancel it because of COVID, or possibly having to have really strict restrictions because of COVID, or even possibly it just completely not being available at all. Technically speaking, we still could have used it, but there was that big risk that it wouldn't be available for the June 12th date, and so we would have to potentially scramble to find a new venue with little to zero notice. I didn't want to film this video until after we kind of settled things, because I didn't want to come on and be mad or upset. I'm just saying right now, I'm not mad and I'm not upset at all. Decisions have been made between the person that owned this property, Sam, and myself. Decisions were made, things are fine, it's completely and totally fine. So on that note, about a week ago, we learned this, and me and Sam made the decision we weren't going to use this place for our wedding anymore, and we had to decide what we were going to do instead. So I started looking at just like generic places where people have weddings, like golf courses, hotels, places that do just weddings in general. I was looking at these places and I was hating every single one of them. Personally, there's things I want for my wedding that a lot of these places wouldn't accommodate. For example, the food. I am not a fancy food person in any way. For my own wedding, I'm not going to be serving like a steak and lobster dinner that's super duper fancy, because I want to be able to eat at my own wedding. I'm not trying to be rude to anyone else out there who has either had a wedding or is planning a wedding. If you want fancy food, it's your wedding. Like, have whatever the heck you want. If you love steak and lobster dinners and you're like, it's my wedding, I want to splurge and get the fanciest thing ever, then do that. That is your choice. It's your wedding. Like, that's the thing that I'm trying to portray what I'm saying right now. It's your wedding. Do whatever the heck you want. And this is my wedding, so I want to be able to do whatever the heck I want. When I was looking into these places that like have weddings, or you can book a hall to have your wedding there was just a lot of restrictions that I did not like. To be completely honest, it was just ridiculously expensive. Some of these places were like, we require a non-refundable deposit of $5,000 to hold the date or whatever. Just the deposit is $5,000. Lots of these places that did require a substantial amount of money like that did include the catering and a DJ, things like that. Along the terms of a DJ as well, there's very specific music that I want at my wedding that I literally had to seek out a specific DJ to be like, this is the type of music I want. It's my wedding, and if you're not going to play this music, I'm not going to hire you. And I did have a couple DJs say, oh, I don't usually play stuff like that, or oh, those types of songs don't really get a lot of use at a wedding. I'm like, that's cool. It's my wedding. So if I want freaking Disney music played, I want Disney music played. Lots of these places, as well as food being a limited option, DJs, they were like, you have to pick between one of our 3 verified DJs. And I mean, I didn't look much into these DJs or anything like that. Maybe some of them would have been accommodating, I don't know, but just the fact that they wanted $5,000 non-refundable kind of scared me away. Also, it was just really hard to decide if we should plan anything, because as of right now, COVID is still going on. It's still a pandemic. There's still lockdown orders in place. As of right now, my city has actually extended our lockdown orders and our stay home orders, because Cases are rising. It is not getting any better. Yes, there is a vaccine, so people are hoping that this is slowly going to start coming to an end, and hopefully COVID cases will stop dropping, which I mean is the goal, not just for me, but for the whole entire world. But saying that as well, last year in March when this first happened, no one thought that it'd be going on almost a year later, that this would still be happening. So it's really hard to predict that come June, which is when we were supposed to be having our wedding, that things are going to be any better. So with the coronavirus and the pandemic in our head the entire time, me and Sam were thinking, should we even have a wedding this year? Should we wait? To be completely honest, at the end of the day, I just really wanted to get married this year. There was a point in time where we discussed getting married in 2022, but with us choosing the date of June 12th of 2021, I got really excited. I mean, I've already bought my dress and I want to get married this year. So what kind of got us down the path of the final decision we made for our wedding was I have 2 vacation days left of my 2020 calendar year. So my work, our calendar year is from, I believe, the beginning of May until the following end of April. So I technically still have 2 vacation days of 2020 that I need to use before the end of April, or else I lose them. And originally I was planning on using them in March because Sam's 30th birthday is this March, and we were gonna maybe do something special for his 30th birthday. And so I threw it out there, well, why don't we just go away for a weekend, or like a long weekend? Like, I'll take a Thursday, Friday off with my 2 days. We'll go away for a weekend somewhere and we'll just have a small ceremony with family and just get married. And we'll have a reception later on. Sam was all for this idea, and so I spent probably about 2-3 days looking into churches and chapels and things like that where we could potentially have our wedding. Sam and I personally aren't very religious or anything. We don't go to church on a weekly basis, so we don't have like a relationship with like a pastor or a priest or anything that we would love to have marry us. Like, a good friend of mine got married a few years ago, and her now husband are very religious. They went to church often, so they had a good relationship with their pastor and they asked him to marry them. We don't have that, and I'm not necessarily saying I need to have a good relationship with the person who marries me, but I would like them to know kind of my thoughts. I would like it to be a little bit more personalized rather than just like a generic Alberta approved wedding license kind of a deal. After doing lots and lots of research, I found a company that does very small weddings in the mountains. They have a few different locations. I think maybe 1 or 2 of them aren't in the mountains, but most of them are. And their standard package includes a wedding commissioner and even a photographer, which is just super fantastic. I was just gonna, get people to take photos on their iPhones. To actually have a photographer is really exciting. I did tons of research on this company. I Googled reviews on them. I looked through their Instagram. I looked through all their social medias. Everything I saw about this company was absolutely amazing. And even with them providing a wedding commissioner, they send you out a questionnaire, and I actually read it today, and it just asks a lot of like questions on how you want your ceremony to be, like things you want said. And even Sam and I reading this questionnaire were joking that I was like, how would you like to be introduced at the end of the ceremony? For example, Mr. and Mrs. Bob Smith. And I jokingly said to Sam, we should be introduced as Mr. and Mrs. Sam, last name Jedi Masters. They put in lots of places for it to be personalized, things like that. Sam and I are able to read our own vows, which was a big deal for me. I have always wanted to write and read my own vows at my wedding. I'm really happy I get to do that. If I'm saying we read the questionnaire, obviously this is the company we have booked for our wedding. I spoke to the woman who owns the company. Sam and I had a speakerphone conversation with her, and he was very happy with everything. We showed everything to my mom and my dad. We showed everything to Sam's mom, and they all loved it. It sounds amazing. Today went ahead and sent them our deposit for them to perform our wedding. So I mentioned a couple minutes ago how I have the few days off remaining, or the few days vacation remaining for the 2020 calendar year. Because I want to use those days before I lose them, we decided to move up our wedding day, and also because the mountains are very popular, further and further into the summer we go, the busier and busier it could possibly get. With those two things in mind, we have moved our wedding date to April 24th of this year. So a whole about a month and a half sooner than we originally planned. But I'm so excited. Really can't wait. Every time we talk about it, it just makes me more and more happy, and I'm more and more excited about everything. I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful. I'm hoping that because we're having it at the end of April, that hopefully there won't be too much snow, but even if there is, it'll still be really, really pretty. I am very excited for everything that we have decided for this new ceremony we're going to have. Obviously, it is just going to be very close family, probably just our immediate family. If restrictions are really, really bad, worst case scenario, we'll have my parents and Sam's mom at the ceremony. Best case scenario, we'll have my sister, her husband and kids, my brother, and then Sam's sister and her husband and kids. So it all depends on the coronavirus restrictions. But those things we're just gonna have to wait and see. We are going to probably book a hotel and stay at a hotel the night before the wedding, just to, you know, be closer. It's not far, it's about a 45-minute drive. So I mean, we don't necessarily have to stay at a hotel, but I feel like it would just kind of be fun to, like, you know, get up and get ready in a hotel room for my wedding day. We're not going to be planning any of that kind of stuff until end of March, beginning of April-ish, when we know more again about what the restrictions are. As for our reception, we are still going to be having a reception. As of right now though, we have not set a date for that, and we are not even thinking about that or planning it until after COVID has kind of been, I don't know the right word, it's not a thing anymore, and we don't have to worry about restrictions and how many people we can invite, because probably what we'll do for our reception is just rent a rec center and have dinner, snacks, and a dance party. So I don't want to have to worry about having to cut people off the list because we can only have a certain amount of people indoors. We're just gonna wait for COVID to be over and not worry about those things anymore. And by that point, we will already be married. Post more wedding related content up until April 24th, and then when we have our wedding, I'll obviously post some wedding videos. I will do some more like reception planning videos because I do have ideas planned for that. For example, I already bought my wedding shoes, but I actually have to change, and not change them, but I have to get something different for the ceremony since it's going to be out in the mountains and there could potentially be snow. I have to get something different than what I got, but the shoes I did get, I will be wearing to the reception. I do also plan on getting a reception outfit, so I figured why not just get something simple and something fun to just dance all night in. That is it for now. Big fat update, but I am very much looking forward to it. Literally every single day I think of new things that I'm just very excited about. I am a person where I tend not to dwell on things. I would have loved to have our wedding where we originally planned, but I'm not going to sit here and dwell and think, oh, if we would have had our wedding there, then we could have done this. And if we would have had our wedding there, then we could have done this. No, I like to think of, now that we are having our wedding at this place, this is what's going to be fantastic about it. And I'm so excited. There's so many great things, and honestly, there's so many great reasons that I'm so happy that we're doing this over our original plan. Today, Sam and I actually went and bought our wedding bands. We don't have them here yet because we had to get them sized, but I will have a video on that where I'll show our wedding bands. My dress is in the middle of getting altered. The only issue right now is I can't get my hair done, which I mean is a total first world problem, but I'm desperately needing to change my hair color before my wedding. And so I'm really hoping restrictions slightly lift before April so I can get my hair done. But I mean, if I can't, first world problem, it's not the end of the world. That is it for now. I really hope you enjoyed this update. I'm feeling really great about everything, and I can't wait for my new wedding day. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, everybody.